Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be continuing chapter 1 of year 2 biology. So, if you haven't watched the first part, please make sure to watch it because now we're going to be finishing the chapter. So, just a quick summary of what we took in part 1. In part 1, we learned about the different energy sources that our body uses, such as proteins, fats, and carbs. And we also learned about the different nutrients that our body needs, which adds also vitamins, mineral salts, etc. And now we're going to be talking about what a balanced diet is and what an unbalanced diet is, and the diseases that we might have if we have a deficiency in one of the nutrients or more than one of the nutrients. So let's begin. So we're going to start with a quick definition of what a balanced diet is. So a balanced diet contains all the essential nutrients in the right proportions. It's important that it should be in the right proportions. So we can't have our entire diet cannot consist of just protein. We need carbs, we need fats, we need a variety of different nutrients in the right proportions. And a good balanced diet is the one that covers our energy needs. So remember, we said that food contains energy and our body needs energy. So our diet should satisfy our body's energy needs, okay? And now the question comes, now different people and different bodies have different energy requirements. We don't all require the same energy. So that's why our balanced diet, our diets can vary from one person to another. And the factors that affect our diet and our energy needs are age, gender, physical activity, and for ladies if they're pregnant or not. Now, why do those factors affect our energy requirements? Because there is something known as the basal metabolic rate. This is very important, you guys have to know it. So what is the basal metabolic rate? It is the amount of energy per unit time needed to perform body functions. So remember, our body needs energy to be able to perform functions. So the basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy per unit time needed to perform body functions at rest. It's also important to note that it's when the body is at rest. Now, first we said age is one of the factors that affects. So how is age related to basal metabolic rate? So as age increases, basal metabolic rate decreases. Okay? So this is the first thing to know. So if our older people, as we age, our basal metabolic rate decreases. So if our basal metabolic rate decreases, what does it mean? Again, the definition of the basal metabolic rate was it is the amount of energy per unit time needed to perform body functions at rest. So now this rate decreased. So what does that mean? Now we need less energy. So we need to consume less food. On the other hand, when we're young, we need a lot of energy. That's why we tend to eat more than adults because our body has different energy requirements. That's the first factor. The second factor is gender. So we have male versus female. So males generally have a higher basal metabolic rate. So let's write it down. So males, let's put it in blue. Males have a higher metabolic rate than females. So since they have a higher metabolic rate, what does that mean? That means they need more energy. More energy, so their diet, their food, should have a greater proportion than what females usually eat. That's the second factor. Now the third factor is physical activity. Someone who works out on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, someone who's always active, will of course have a higher metabolic rate, so he needs more energy than someone who is not as active as that person is. So that's why your requirements of a balanced diet is going to be different than someone who does not work out. And finally, a woman who is pregnant needs to eat more than a woman who's not pregnant. This is very logical because when a woman is pregnant, she's not just feeding herself, she's feeding her fetus. So the fetus also needs energy. So the pregnant woman tends to require more energy to feed both herself and her fetus. And this is all related to the basal metabolic rate. And now we're gonna look slightly at what an unbalanced diet is. Since we looked at what a balanced diet is, now we're gonna look at what an unbalanced diet is. So an unbalanced diet tends to lead to malnutrition. Now malnutrition is not just a deficiency in nutrients, it could also be an excess in nutrients. So we could eat too many fats, which as we said in part 1 video, that's why make sure to watch it, that if we eat a lot of saturated fats, we have a risk of getting heart attacks. We have a risk of getting coronary heart disease. Okay? And also a deficiency in nutrients. Now we're gonna also look at it more. For example, a lack of vitamin D can cause rickets in children. And now we're gonna look at the symptoms of what rickets is. So excess can lead to obesity, overweight, and a deficiency can lead to starvation. And starvation usually leads to restricted growth, a decrease in immunity, so you're more prone to catch diseases, and damage to organs, and possibly also death. So it's very dangerous. And now I also included a small diagram of what a balanced diet should look like. You can see there's different proportions because we should eat, as we mentioned earlier in the video, that we should have the right proportions. So you see fruit and vegetables take the largest proportion, and then we have brown rice, wholemeal bread, and then we have our protein source, meat and others. And they also tell us we have to stay hydrated because water was an important nutrient. Use healthier oils. So don't tend to use saturated fats. Use unsaturated fats. And of course, try to be active as much as possible. Now, in order for us to know and to measure that where is our weight? Is our weight healthy? Is our weight unhealthy? Are we at a risk of being overweight? Are we at a risk of being underweight? Scientists developed the body mass index, which is also known as BMI, and it's a very straightforward formula that you guys can do also at your home. So feel free to try it out with your friends, with your family, to check where you are. So what's the formula? It's basically your weight divided by your height squared. However, make sure that your height is in meters, not in centimeters, and your weight is in kilograms and not in grams. And now the range, if you get a number between 18 to 25, that means you are healthy. You're in the good range. Now, if you get a number larger than 25, then you're at a risk of being obese and overweight, which is dangerous because, as we mentioned, it could lead to heart diseases. So make sure to watch out. And also, if you get a number before 18, that means you are underweight, and it's also dangerous because we don't want to have deficiencies in vitamins, which can lead to several diseases. And I included a small example for you guys to know how to solve this question if it comes in your AMS. So we have the example: Malik weighs 98 kilograms and his height is 187 centimeters. Calculate his BMI. So first, what did we say the formula is? Weight divided by height squared. Now the weight is in kilograms, so I don't have to change it. However, the height is in centimeters. And remember, if I want to change centimeters to meters, what do? I divide by 100, because 1 meter is 100 centimeter. So I'm going to write how many meters in 187 centimeters. Cross multiply, I will get 1.87 meters. Now what do I do next? Next, I'm going to do 98 divided by 1.87 squared, and I will get a number around 28. So 28 falls where? Falls in this region. It's above the healthy region, and now we're at risk of being overweight and possibly obese. Okay? And also I added here a small note to read food labels. So what are food labels? If you go to a supermarket and you hold a product in your hand, it's usually at the back, you're going to find a food label which tells you the amount of calories, the additives, the amount of nutrients, the percentage of fat, carbs, protein, all of that. So make sure whenever you're buying something from the supermarket to check, did they use saturated fats or unsaturated fats? Remember, because saturated fats are unhealthy, unsaturated are healthy. Does it have a high percentage of protein or a very low percentage of protein? So all of those are important to look at to be able to understand what's entering our body. And now we're going to look at the diseases that we might have if we have a lack of nutrients. So this is a quick table that summarizes them all, and then we're going to be look at the symptoms of each disease. So a deficiency in vitamin D can lead to rickets in children. A deficiency in vitamin C can lead to scurvy. A deficiency in iron leads to anemia. A deficiency of protein, only protein leads to kwashiorkor. And deficiency of proteins, carbs, and fats leads to marasmus. Now let's dive into each one by itself. So first one we're going to be looking at is no protein. So if no protein, we said we're going to have kwashiorkor. Now what are the symptoms that we are going to see in someone who we can tell has a lack of protein in his diet? So there's going to be swelling in some body parts. He's going to be underweight and extreme thinness. And remember, we said before in part 1 the importance of protein. We can mention them quickly here. So importance of protein. Protein was needed for many things in our body. It was needed for enzyme function. It's needed for hair, for nails, for repair, for growth. So proteins plays a major part in our body. So if we have a lack of protein, it's very bad. As we can see, we have swelling in some body parts. Usually the stomach is swollen and they're going to be underweight and extreme thinness that you can even see the bones of the person. And now we're going to be looking at no vitamin D. Remember, no vitamin D leads to rickets in children. And what was the importance of vitamin D? So role of vitamin D was what? Vitamin D helps the absorption of calcium. And what was the importance of calcium? Calcium was needed for bones. So what do we expect the symptoms of rickets to be? We expect it to be soft and deformed bones, weak bones and teeth, and a high risk of bone fractures. Now we're also going to be, and remember, vitamin D was a fat-soluble vitamin. Okay? Now no vitamin C leads to scurvy. And what did we say the role of vitamin C was? Role of vitamin C was healthy gums, and also healthy skin and healthy gums. And remember, vitamin C was a water-soluble vitamin. So what do we expect scurvy, the symptoms of it to be? Bleeding gums and wounds that do not heal, and also sometimes joint pain. Now the last two, we have no protein, no carbs, no fats. What did we say? When we have a lack of all the main energy sources, we're going to have marasmus, and also it's going to be low body weight, extreme thinness that you can even see the bones. However, the difference between marasmus and kwashiorkor here, we don't have swelling. So in marasmus, no swelling. However, in kwashiorkor, we do have swelling in some body parts. And finally, no iron leads to anemia. And remember, what was the role of iron? Iron was important for hemoglobin. And hemoglobin was what? Hemoglobin was the pigment in red blood cells. And what do red blood cells do? Red blood cells transfer oxygen. So if we don't have enough hemoglobin in our red blood cells, we can't transfer oxygen to our cells and our organs in an efficient way. That's why what's a symptom going to be of anemia? They're going to look pale and they're always going to be tired. And then finally, a small note that a lack of calcium is going to lead to fragile bones, weak teeth, and poor blood clotting. Remember, because calcium was a mineral salt and it's important for the health of bones, teeth, and it also plays a role in blood clotting. So a lack of it is going to cause the opposite effect. So fragile bones, weak teeth, and poor blood clotting. And finally, we said fiber. Fiber, remember, is not an energy source. Why? because we do not digest it. So we don't digest fiber, so we can't get energy out of it. But fiber helps us to regulate bowel movement and prevents constipation and even colon cancer. So a lack of fiber is going to lead to what? It's going to lead to constipation. I hope you guys, that's it for chapter 1. I hope you guys understood everything. If you have any questions, don't forget to leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer all the questions. And don't forget finally to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep on doing those videos for you guys. And if you also want me to see me solving the quiz, let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys and best of luck on your exam.